Hello friends, and welcome to my channel where we encourage each other to be better and do good. Hey, I checked my calendar and today is another holiday. So we're going to be talking about Columbus Day. Columbus Day 2020, October 12th, celebrating October 12th of 1492, the time that Christopher Columbus and his crew and 3 ships sailed across the Atlantic Ocean, discovered a new world, and changed the course of history forever. Now, like all big events in history, it wasn't all good. There was some good and some bad, but also like all big events of history, it did indeed change the course of mankind, the course of the history of the United States, the history of the world forever. So let's look at Columbus just for a minute as we celebrate Columbus Day. You know, there's a poem that maybe some of you heard. I only heard when I was a kid the first 2 lines, and I thought it was just a way to help me remember when Columbus sailed, and didn't know until recently it's actually the first 2 lines of an entire poem. Have you heard this one? In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. I heard that all my life, but I thought that was all there was to it. It's a whole poem. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I would like to share with you just the next few lines. Columbus sailed the ocean blue. He had 3 ships and left from Spain. He sailed through sunshine, wind, and rain. He sailed by night. He sailed by day. He used the stars to find his way. Wow, you know, that's always been intriguing to me, to think about being out in the middle of the ocean, being out there so far that you can look all the way around and all you see is water. It's just incredible. Now, maybe some of you have been on ocean voyages and cruises where you've been out that far. I've only been far enough that I can still see the shore. You know, I want that safety net. But I did have one event several years ago when I was out west, actually, in near Monument Valley, and I had the opportunity to go horseback riding with a young Navajo boy, 15 years old, a boy named Chris. And boy, could Chris ride. I thought I could ride, but no, nothing like he could. But we got so far out into the desert there in Monument Valley that you could turn 360 degrees in your saddle and you could see nothing but desert. I mean, there was no buildings, no homes, no roads, no cars, no people. Just Chris and me out there as far as you could see. And he spent the day telling me the fables and legends of his people in that area, which was a marvelous, marvelous event. But I compare that to being out in the middle of the ocean, you know, surrounded, and just think, the tiny ships they had then. If you've been out there now, you've been in an ocean-going cruise ship, right? Huge, all nice things. But they had tiny wooden vessels powered by wind, and they crossed the Atlantic. Now, I think there are some good characteristics to Christopher Columbus. Number one, he's probably a good salesman. You know, he sold the King and Queen of Spain on the idea that he could get around the world a different way. Now, honestly, not very many people at that time thought the world was flat, all right? Most of them knew the world was round, and Chris did too. He knew it was round. He thought you could sail from Spain, because what they would do is they would travel from Spain across land to get to China and the Indies for trade. But it was a very treacherous crossing. So Chris was a sailor. He was an educated man, and he was a good navigator. He thought, well, we can sail, if things are round, we can sail the opposite direction across the ocean, and we can land in the Indies and land in China. He only had two major flaws to his thought. One was his globe was a lot smaller than what the actual Earth is, so he thought you could get there a lot faster. And number 2, of course, he didn't realize there were these 2 huge continents in between, North America and South America, and supposedly he discovered for the Europeans, right? So there was a few flaws there, but he was a good salesman. He sold them on it. He was a good navigator. He got his crew across the ocean. And I think also the main lesson for Chris Columbus was he was determined. I've got a plaque on my wall back behind me here. It says the difference between the impossible and the possible is determination. And I think determination for us is what's inside us. You know, we get determined about something, and that shows itself in our persistence. Persistence is the action. Determination is the attitude. So if you have an attitude of determination, it's going to be shown in your actions of perseverance, of persistence, and that's what people will see in us. And you see, Columbus was determined. He was determined to get across that ocean. By the time they got almost there and didn't know where they were yet, but they were almost there, the crew was really having a lot of problems. They were ready to mutiny. They wanted to turn back. They said, we're almost out of supplies. We'll starve to death before we get home if we don't turn back now. And Columbus made a bargain with them. And this was on October 10th, 1492. He said, I'll tell you what, if we don't come to land, if we don't spot land in 3 days, we'll go back. 2 hours after midnight on October 12th, 1492, sailor up in the crow's nest of the Pinta says, land ho, land ho. They spotted land. They discovered for Europe a new world. They changed the course of history forever because he was determined and he persisted. I'll read you the last verse of that poem, you see. Then pale and worn, he kept his deck and peered through darkness. Ah, that night of all dark nights. And then a speck, a light, at last a light. It grew, a starlit flag unfurled. It grew to be time's burst of dawn. He gained a world, and he gave that world the grandest lesson. On, sail on and on. You see, no matter what, it's not historically correct, it's not historically accurate, but it does show his determination and his persistence. And it's based on historical ideas, historical facts. But it gives us an idea of his determination and his persistence. And I would encourage all of us, if there is something you have that you're involved in, whether it's a hobby, an event, something that you feel passionate about, and it's good, it's positive, and it's something that is of value and worth to you or your family or the community, to be determined to stay with it, to stick it out, to stick to your guns. My dad always said, just keep on keeping on and persevere and persist. Tell you a couple of quick stories. In 1954, there was a young man who, after his very first audition, very first performance actually, at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee, the manager there fired him. Sent him back home, sent him back and said, son, you got no talent. You ought to go back to driving a truck. Well, that young man was determined and he persisted. You probably heard of him. His name was Elvis Presley. There was another man who was a great inventor, and he's given, Thomas Edison, given the credit of inventing the light bulb. He actually didn't invent it, but he did perfect it so that everyone could use it. But it took him over 1,000 times to perfect it. And he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I was determined, I persisted, and I discovered 1,000 ways it wouldn't work. Walt Disney, you heard of him? Heard of Walt Disney? He went broke several times before he ever had Disneyland. He went bankrupt. He kind of, had failed businesses. Things like that happened to him. But goodness gracious, and in fact, first time he went to the city of Anaheim with his proposal for Disneyland, they turned him down. They said, no, a park like that would only attract riffraff. And he persisted, and now there's Disney Worlds, Disneylands all across the globe. Share one more with you here real quickly, and you've probably heard of this one. I don't know if you have or not. If not, it'll be very interesting. If so, it's a little rehash. But again, somebody who was determined and persisted. And good things can come of that. So again, what I encourage, if you've got something good and valuable and that you're starting or that you're considering stopping, stay with it. Stay the course. Sail on and on. He failed in business in 31. That's 1831. He was defeated for the state legislature in 32. He tried another business in 33 and it failed. His fiancee died in 35 and he had a nervous breakdown in 1836, but in 1843 he then ran for Congress and was defeated. He tried again in 48 and was defeated again. He tried running for the Senate in 55. He lost. The next year he ran for vice president and lost. In 59 he ran for the Senate again and was defeated. But in 1860 he became the 16th president of the United States of America. Abraham Lincoln may be one of the greatest presidents of this country because he was determined and he persisted. So again, from Columbus Day, from Columbus having that determination and that persistence to sail more than halfway around the globe to discover the new world that he thought was going to be a better trade route to the Indies, I encourage you and in myself, all of us, that man, if you are onto something good, if you've got something good and wholesome and valuable and positive going on, stick with it, persist, persevere, and be determined. Hey, if you like the video, thank you very much for watching. I so much appreciate it. I really, really, truly do. If you could go down below, give it a thumbs up, click that like button for me, share it with your family and friends. Comments are always welcome. Videos come out every Monday morning. So thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel. We'll see you next week.